That night, it began like every other quiet evening. The world outside seemed asleep, and inside our home, peace had finally settled. My wife had just finished tucking the kids into bed. My 6-year-old son, always full of energy, had fought sleep until his little eyes finally gave up. My daughter, younger and softer, was already dreaming. My younger sister and my wife's sister had joined us for the weekend, laughing and talking in the living room earlier before everyone retired. I remember switching off the last light in the hallway. The night felt calm. Too calm. Then, a sound broke the silence. It wasn't loud. But it was wrong. A kind of scrape. Metal brushing against concrete. At first, I thought it was a stray cat, or maybe the wind. But then came another sound, heavier, more deliberate. And then I heard it. A thud. Then another. I froze. My heart began to beat faster. Something inside me whispered, "Wake up." I moved quietly to the window. I pushed the curtain just a little, enough to see the compound. The street beyond my high fence was empty. No lights. No sound. Even the neighborhood dogs were silent, as if they too were holding their breath. Then I saw movement. A shadow. Something human, jumped over my fence. He landed hard. Before I could blink, another followed. Then another. Then the fourth. 4 men. 4 armed men. They moved like hunters. Careful. Quiet. Each one landing softly, scanning the compound, communicating with gestures. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't move. It was happening. And I was awake to see it. I quickly stepped back from the window and whispered for my wife. She woke instantly, fear already in her eyes. "What is it?" she whispered. I didn't answer immediately. I just said, "Gather everyone. My room. Now." Her voice trembled. "What's wrong?" I whispered again, firmer this time. "Please. Just do it." I could hear faint footsteps outside. They were near the front door. I guided everyone, my wife, my children, my sister, and my wife's sister, into my room. My hands were shaking, but I tried not to show it. Once everyone was inside, I locked the door. I turned off every extra light in the house. The house sank into darkness. My son started to cry, but I held him close. "Shh, it's okay," I whispered. "Don't make a sound." Then came a voice. Deep. Rough. Cold. "Open the door." We froze. The voice came again, this time louder. I said, "Open this door before we break it." I moved closer to the door, careful not to make any noise. Their footsteps were clear now, boots scraping the tiles. I picked up my phone. My hand was trembling so much I almost dropped it. Who were they? What did they want? Were they here for money, or something worse? I dialed my neighbor. He picked up immediately. I whispered, "Please. 4 armed men in my compound. Call private security. Now." He didn't even ask questions. He just said, "Stay calm. I'm calling them." That gave me a flicker of hope. But outside, the pounding began. They were hitting the front security door with something heavy. Over and over again. My wife held the children tighter. The metal door vibrated with every blow. I could hear them grunting, cursing. Then one of them said, "This door is too strong." Another voice responded, "Forget the door. Break the window." My heart dropped. They moved quickly. Their boots thudded against the floor as they rushed to the side of the house. Then, crash! Glass shattered. The sound tore through the silence. The laundry room window. My wife gasped. My daughter began to sob softly, muffled against her aunt's chest. I whispered, "Quiet, please, stay quiet." They broke more glass. Then I heard the scraping sound of metal. They were cutting through the iron protector. They were coming in. They were determined. At that moment, everything slowed. The only sound I could hear was the pounding of my heart. I looked at my wife, her eyes were filled with fear. I looked at my children, trembling. I looked at the door, knowing it might not hold if they reached it next. And then, a distant siren. Faint, but real. The men stopped for a second. One of them cursed. They whispered to each other, moving fast again, this time, toward the back. I could hear them climbing. Running. Jumping. And then silence. Just silence. I didn't move. None of us did. For the next few minutes, we sat in the dark, afraid to even breathe. When the laundry room window shattered, everything changed. There was no warning. No hesitation. Just chaos. The sound of glass breaking hadn't even settled before the first gunshot rang out. Then another. Then many more. They fired indiscriminately into the house. They didn't care who was inside. They didn't care if it was a man, a woman, or a child. Bullets tore through the walls. Furniture splintered. The sound was deafening. My heart almost stopped completely. In that moment, I knew, this was no longer a robbery. This was survival. I didn't run. I didn't scream. I walked slowly into the living room and sat down on the couch. Waiting. Waiting for them to come through the hallway. Waiting to face whatever was coming. I could hear footsteps. Heavy boots. Three of them entered the house. One remained outside, firing occasionally, giving the others cover. My whole body was shaking. My mouth was dry. My chest felt like it was being crushed. Then they appeared. Their faces were fully masked. Dark clothing. Weapons raised. The tallest among them shouted at me. "Lay down." I didn't hesitate. I lay flat on the floor. Immediately, another one rushed toward me. He slammed my head down hard and pointed an AK-47 rifle just inches from my face. I could see the barrel. I could smell the metal. With a deep, terrifying voice, he asked, "Where did you hide it?" Before I could answer, he raised his boot and kicked me in the head. The pain was sharp. Explosive. It spread through my skull and down my entire body. I couldn't speak. My ears rang. Blood began to drip from my head onto the floor. Then he asked again, "Where is the suitcase?" My mind was racing. So many thoughts at once. My wife. My children. My sister. My sister-in-law. They were all hiding in my room. I knew one thing clearly. I could not point them toward my room. I couldn't. Even if it meant my life. I lifted my hand weakly. And pointed toward the guest room. Immediately, they started shouting. "Stand up! Stand up!" I said stand up. I tried. God knows I tried. I stood up, staggered, and collapsed back onto the floor. Blood was still dripping. My heart felt like it was going to burst. "Draw him up," the tall man said. At this point, they became anxious. Restless. Like men running out of time. They grabbed me and started dragging me toward the guest room. My feet scraped the floor. My vision blurred. And then, I heard it. A sound I will never forget. A siren. Faint at first, but coming closer. One of them shouted, "Leave him." Outside, the man providing cover yelled, "Kapu! Kapu! Mangoose! Let go, they are here." Panic erupted. They released me immediately. They ran back toward the laundry room. One after the other, they jumped out through the broken window. Before leaving, the tall man turned back. He looked at me on the floor, bleeding, shaking, broken. And he said something that still chills my blood. "We will be back." Then they were gone. Silence returned. But peace did not. I lay there, unable to move, listening to the sirens grow louder, knowing that even though I survived that moment, the fear would stay with me forever.
And if you think this story ends here, you're wrong. Some truths are buried for a reason and some horrors are still waiting to be uncovered. If this story kept you watching, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next case, the next nightmare, is already waiting. New stories. Darker secrets. Real fear. Stay curious. Stay alert. And remember, some stories don't end when the video does.